We are taught to fear our anger, taught to suppress it, silence it, spiritualize it, or redirect it into something more productive, especially if you were raised to be agreeable, polite, or emotionally regulated. But what if your anger isn't a mistake? What if it is your truth, screaming to be heard? This is a meditation not on rage as destruction, but on anger as clarity, as sacred, as fuel, as the fierce signal of your inner compass. Through the lens of shadow work, the psychology of Carl Jung, and the art of intentional living, we will walk, step by step, into the fire you were taught to put out, not to be consumed by it, but to finally see what it's been trying to illuminate all along. Have you ever smiled through gritted teeth, bit your tongue so hard it almost bled, told yourself it wasn't worth it, whatever it was, that it's better to keep the peace than to speak the truth? This is the reality for many of us. We look composed. We say, "I'm fine." But beneath the surface, something hot brews. It's in the way your hands clench the steering wheel when someone crosses your boundary, in the way your chest tightens when you're dismissed, in the way you cry, not from sadness, but from the unbearable tension of having no safe place to put your rage. Anger doesn't always come with yelling. Sometimes it comes in silence. Sometimes it comes dressed as withdrawal, or perfectionism, or migraines. This is the fire beneath the smile, and many of us have never been taught to look at it, only to hide it, to shame it, to be better than it. But that fire, it has something to say. Close your eyes. Picture this. You are in a quiet room with no light, only stillness, only breath. And across from you sits a version of you, older, stronger, sharper, eyes like flint, shoulders like armor, hands curled into tired fists. This is your anger. It does not smile. It does not apologize. It has been waiting. Now ask it. Why are you here? What are you trying to protect? What have I allowed to be crossed, silenced, violated? Listen, it might say, I am not here to destroy your peace. I am here because your boundaries were not respected. I am the heat of truth, the signal that something sacred has been ignored. It might say, I showed up when you abandoned yourself to make others comfortable. I screamed when your no was not honored. I rose like a wave because you were trying to drown me. Can you listen without judging it? Shadow work is not a war against the dark. It is a conversation, a remembering. Let's name it. We live in a culture that mistrusts anger, especially from women, people of color, marginalized communities, and sensitive souls. We were told that anger is unprofessional, unspiritual, immature, dangerous. And yet, history was changed by anger. Boundaries were drawn by anger. Movements were born because someone said, enough. What we call anger issues are often listening issues. No one ever asked what the anger is trying to say. They only wanted it to go away. So we internalize this message. To be loved, you must be agreeable. To be safe, you must not disrupt. To be good, you must not be angry. But this creates a terrible split inside us. We become people who smile while burning, who people please while resenting, who call our silence peace, while our soul roars for truth. Let me offer you something radical. Anger is not your enemy. It is the guardian of your dignity. Anger says, you are not being treated with respect. Your needs matter. You were violated, and it is not okay. Your body is not a battleground. It is not destructive by nature. What makes anger destructive is disconnection from your body, your truth, your breath. But in its essence, anger is the flare in the dark. It's the body's final alarm. It says, something sacred has been trespassed. And what a powerful thing that is, to have an internal compass that rises to your defense. That says, you matter. That says, this isn't justice. That says, we must not abandon ourselves again. In the psychology of Carl Jung, this is the beginning of integration, welcoming what was exiled, reclaiming what was shamed. Your anger does not make you broken. It makes you awake. So what does it mean to live intentionally with your anger? To honor it, but not be ruled by it? To channel it, not collapse under it? Here is a ritual to practice. The fire ritual, daily practice. 1. When anger rises, pause. Don't speak. Don't act. Breathe. 2. Put your hand on your chest. Say internally, I hear you. I will not exile you. 3. Ask it. What boundary has been crossed? What truth am I afraid to speak? What need is being denied? 4. Write down its answers. Don't edit. Let the anger speak like an old friend. 5. Close the ritual by saying, thank you for protecting me. Teach me how to speak this truth with love and power. Do this not once, but every time you feel the heat. Make it sacred. Make it safe. Make it yours. Anger wants to be acknowledged, not punished. It wants to be integrated, not shut away in the basement of your psyche. If we do not learn to listen to anger, it finds another way to speak. It becomes resentment, poisoning intimacy. It becomes self-sabotage, blocking joy. It becomes burnout, draining vitality. It becomes passive aggression, eroding trust. Unmet anger doesn't disappear, it morphs. It moves from the sharp sword of clarity into the slow rod of disconnection. If you want to live an intentional life, of integrity, of real presence, you must go where most people are too afraid to look. You must face the heat. We are not meant to live in the extremes. All water, no fire, and we drown in passivity. All fire, no water, and we burn out in rage. But together, together they become steam, movement, transformation, power. Intentional living means making room for both. Your compassion and your fury. Your kindness and your boundaries. Your warmth and your fire. Integration means I don't reject parts of myself to be palatable. I let them sit at the same table. I let them teach me how to be whole. This is not chaos. This is coherence. Many of the greatest works of art, justice, and leadership were born from anger, but not uncontained rage. Channeled anger, sacred anger, purposeful anger. The anger of a mother who fights for her child's dignity. The anger of a survivor who becomes a healer. The anger of a silenced voice who becomes a poet. The anger of a generation who says, no more. Your anger doesn't just break, it builds. It doesn't just protest, it proposes. It doesn't just burn, it births. Let it create through you. There is a peace that comes from avoiding conflict, but it is hollow, fragile, dependent on suppression. And there is a peace that comes from integration, from knowing that every part of you has a place, even the fiery ones. This peace is real, durable, alive. It comes when you no longer fear your own voice, when you can say, this is my boundary, this is my truth, this is my fire, and it is holy. You are not broken for feeling angry. You are remembering what matters. So, now what? Don't rush to fix your anger. Don't rush to silence it. Instead, begin a dialogue. Write a letter from your anger. Let it speak. Then write back, from your highest self. Try the fire ritual. Once a week, once a day. Make it a ceremony, and ask, what part of me have I abandoned for acceptance? What is my anger here to protect? What truth is ready to be reclaimed? This is intentional living, not perfection, not control, but presence. And the courage to welcome yourself back, fiery, full, and free. In our next meditation, we'll explore another shadow, shame, and the wisdom it carries beneath its silence. But for now, light your fire and let it show you the way home.